can tell you, you know, I need a miracle. It's more than physical, what I need to feel it from you. I need a miracle.
iPhone 12, probably one of the most anticipated tech products of all year. And out of the very few tech products that I've gotten to use this year, this one's probably my favourite looking. And that's it. Let me tell you why. First things first, the design. And oh my god, I love it. I think it looks amazing. This year, Apple completely redesigned the iPhone, which is something they haven't done for 3 or even 6 years, if you don't count the iPhone 10, where all they did was add a bigger screen, but they didn't actually change the physical shape of the phone. But from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 6, they went from an old, dated, boxy design to an all-new, round, modern design. And what do you know? Old is the new. They've gone back to the iPhone 5 boxy design. I personally think it's my favourite looking iPhone ever. It just looks really clean and modern. The frosted matte finish back, especially in this colour, looks stunning. The lack of fingerprints, thanks to the matte back, and just the simplistic Apple logo and triple camera setup give it a really clean and modern look. But what gives this phone its most premium look are the flat sides with this surgical grade stainless steel. These look and feel amazing and just give the phone a really premium and expensive look and feel. When it's clean, that is, because the sides are fingerprint magnets and honestly look kind of disgusting after just holding the phone for like a minute or two. But this is no problem because I mainly use a case on my phone, but this one might change my mind. But anyway, the sides of the phone are not what I'm looking at most of the time. I'm actually looking at the front. And of course the phone looks really dated with this big notch up the top, but in my opinion it's not that bad. This is my first all-screen phone and I got used to the notch in a couple of days. It does crop out some of the video when watching in landscape, but I don't use my phone that often to watch videos, so it doesn't really matter for me. But if that does bother you, some apps like YouTube allow you to crop in and out of the video, but just by pinching the screen. Anyway, the front of the phone looks kind of dated with the big notch, but Apple have reduced the bezels slightly, but it's barely even noticeable. Now the main and biggest part of the phone, the screen. And Apple really haven't changed it all that much on the Pro model this year. On the regular iPhone 12, they've upped the screen from a low-res LCD to a high-res OLED panel. Anyway, the screen on this phone is really good. It's a 6.1-inch OLED display with a resolution of 2532 by 1170 and a PPI of 456. Also, thanks to the very slightly smaller bezels, this phone has a screen-to-body ratio of 86.93%, meaning that 86% of this phone is the screen, or 87% if we're rounding. Now, I'm coming from a 3-year-old iPhone 8 with a low-res LCD to a high-res 2020 Super Retina XDR display. Thanks Apple for that naming. But hey, it's still really good either way. The colours are really vibrant with a 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio. The blacks are really black because it's an OLED panel, which is really good for this wallpaper that I like. But yeah, there's not much else to say other than it's really good. It gets nice and bright outside in really sunny conditions. The viewing angles are really good too. I didn't notice any distortion or colour changing when looking at it from an angle. But, I mean, who uses their phone like this all the time anyway? Another big thing that Apple have added to the front of the phone is ceramic shield. And that just means that Apple have grown nano ceramic crystals into the front glass of the phone to greatly improve its drop resistance. They claim it's up to 4 times less likely to break or shatter when you drop your phone. And of course this will help, but it's still glass, and no matter how strong glass is, glass can still break. That's why I'd recommend using a case and a screen protector. Now, with this big screen, you're going to need a big battery, or at least a long battery life, because Apple has reduced the size of the batteries, making them smaller in this year's iPhone compared to last year. This has resulted in a lesser battery life than last year's iPhone 11, but not by much. I've seen a lot of battery tests, and they all seem to have this phone average about 6.5 hours of screen on time. Now, I don't normally use my battery for 6 hours a day. I'm lucky if I even use it for 4. But with the iPhone 12 Pro, I normally end the day on about 30 to 40% battery left, and I highly doubt anyone else uses their phone for 6 or more hours a day. So you shouldn't really have to worry about that. Now, let's talk cameras. And this year's iPhone uses practically the exact same camera system as last year's iPhone 11, with a few changes of course. The main wide shooter on this phone is the same megapixel count as the iPhone 11, but it does have a slightly lower aperture with an f1.6 compared to f1.8 on the iPhone 11. The telephoto lens and ultrawide are both the same megapixel count and aperture as last year. Aperture, for those of you who are wondering, controls the amount of light that's passed through the lens onto the sensor. It's expressed by the letter F followed by a number. For example, f1.8 as I mentioned earlier, or f2.6. Here's a good photo showing the differences between different lenses with different apertures. As you can see, the lower the number, the more light can get through because it's open wider. And the higher the number, the less light can get through. The main reason Apple have lowered the aperture on this year's iPhone is to get better photos in low light. These photos are only possible thanks to really good software and the lower aperture on the iPhone's main lens. Apple have also added night mode to all wide, telephoto, ultra-wide and front-facing selfie cameras on the iPhone 12 series. Something new they've added this year are low light portraits. At least I think it's new. Not many phones to my immediate knowledge have this. But low light portraits are basically just portrait shots shot in low light. These photos are only possible thanks to the all new LiDAR sensor that's on the back of the iPhone, which I'll get into later. Regular photos on the other hand are really good. The quality is amazing. The colours are nice and bright with a lot of detail all over the photo. Apple has done a really good job at making sure the telephoto and ultra wide camera have the same quality as the regular wide camera. Now at this point you probably would have noticed this little black dot on the back of the iPhone, which is the LiDAR sensor that I mentioned earlier. LiDAR is basically a depth sensor. It works by using light waves from a laser to calculate how long it takes for the light to hit and reflect off of an object back to the scanner. This is how it measures distance and depth. This LiDAR sensor helps the camera autofocus on things a lot faster, even in the dark when the camera itself can't actually see anything. Something that LiDAR will help with is augmented reality. Because it can sense depth and distance, it's really good in the measuring app, helping you measure things like to the centimeter. It's pretty precise. Another cool feature is that you can measure someone's height just by pointing the phone at them. The main new feature that Apple is advertising this year with their iPhones is 5G. I do live in a 5G area, but I'm not going to get it, which means unfortunately I can't test it for you guys. The reason I'm not getting it is because it's unstable, it's very expensive, and it's overall just not really worth it at the moment. So if you are going to buy this phone, don't buy it to use 5G now. Buy it so that in the future your phone will have 5G when it's widely available and available in more areas. This phone is powered by the all-new A14 Bionic chip made by Apple, which is the fastest chip on any smartphone at the moment. Apple says it's up to 40% faster than last year's iPhone, and the phone's really snappy, but it's not next generation fast. Like, you won't notice much of a difference in everyday apps and usage and that kind of stuff. The phone is really smooth, even without a 120Hz display, which is kind of unfortunate. So I guess if that's a deal breaker for you, then don't really get it. But if that's not a deal breaker, then let me tell you about MagSafe and all the new accessories it has. MagSafe, first used on MacBooks, was a way of charging the device magnetically so that if you yanked on the cord, the device wouldn't go flying off the table. Apple have now added this to the iPhone by putting a ring of magnets around the back, meaning that you can magnetically wirelessly charge your device, or even just add accessories like this wallet. And for those of you who don't trust these magnets, the magnets are actually really strong. I didn't trust them at first, but I mean, this thing's not really going anywhere. This case also uses a ring of magnets around the back to connect to the phone. And something cool that I found out is that the phone knows what device you're putting onto it. So I could be putting on the wallet or the case, and it would know what case, what wallet, what color I'm putting on. There's a lot of cool accessories that are coming out soon that use MagSafe, such as car mounts, wireless chargers, and anything else that other people can think of. Now, for the big question of should you buy it? And the short answer is no, you shouldn't buy it. Unless you really want the telephoto lens and LiDAR sensor, but don't really want the gigantic iPhone 12 Pro Max, I wouldn't really recommend buying this phone. If you don't care about the LiDAR and the zoom camera, then get the iPhone 12. It has the same shape, same design, same screen, same Face ID, same notch, same MagSafe accessories, same A14 Bionic. It still has 5G and has the same speed. The only difference between the 12 and the 12 Pro is that the 12 Pro has 6GB of RAM compared to 4GB on the iPhone 12. The regular 12 has aluminium sides with a glossy glass back. Oh, it also has the same ceramic shield. And the 12 Pro has the stainless steel sides with the frosted back. Also, the regular 12 is $350 cheaper than the iPhone 12 Pro. So yeah, that's it. It's a good phone, but it's not really worth the $350 over the iPhone 12. Thank you so much for watching, especially those of you who watched to the very end. It really means a lot to me. Let me know you made it here by just commenting a little smiley face or anything that you want to know about the phone. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to check us a sub, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.